Welcome to I Plan for Marriage, the podcast, a space where love meets preparation. I'm Martha Brown, a marriage planner and chaplain.
And I'm Vivian Vi Baldwin of Designs by Lady Vi, Martha's co-host. I'm a wedding planner and designer and educator. Together, we'll guide you through the two most important journeys, building a strong foundation for your marriage and navigating the ins and outs of wedding planning.
We'll share the conversations you should have before saying I do and the details that matter when planning the celebration of your love.
Whether you're engaged, newlywed, or dreaming about your big day, we're here to give you the insight, encouragement, and a touch of inspiration. Let's get started.
My name is Martha Brown, and welcome to another episode of I Plan for Marriage, the podcast. As you can see, I'm without my co-host, Vivian Baldwin, wedding planner. Well, it's engagement season, so she is busy. Her phone is ringing off the hook, and she couldn't join us today. But joining us today is Dr. Sherod Miller. Dr. Sherod Miller is the author of Collaborative Marriage Communication Skills, and he's authored quite a few books in regards to relationships and communication. And so I'm so happy to have him join me today to share about this wonderful program that he has developed and that I have been had the pleasure to teach. So welcome, Dr. Sherod Miller, to the I Plan. Thank you. All righty. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm an old guy, 85 years old, sometimes say 85 years experience, and good health and love what I'm doing, still active. My minister told me he'd never asked me to help him figure out how to retire. Anyway, I spent a lot of time in school, but I should tell you, when I was a kid, I didn't know how to read until I was 17. So if somebody would have told me how I've spent my life, teaching college, University of Minnesota medical school, able to travel the world, and teaching people how to communicate more effectively, particularly around decisions to be made and conflict resolution, and taking it primarily from a lens of collaboration. How can we work together to make decisions and resolve conflicts rather than other alternatives which are less effective? So I went to, eventually I learned to read. I'm an avid reader now. I love to read. And went through school all the way through PhD at the University of Minnesota many years ago. And with colleagues, we started developing a program called Couple Communication. And that's kind of gone around the world, teaching people to be their own best decision makers and problem solvers. Okay. That's kind of enough to start anyway, I think.
So,
by the way, and I guess I certainly should add, been married to the same person for 63 years. And, we've got 2 kids and grandkids, and life has been good. It really has been good.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you have put to use what you have created, the communication course within your own life to be married for that length of time.
Yeah, with a lot of other people who've contributed in over the years. And I've been kind of the single thread around this program called Couple Communication.
Okay. So of all the things that you could have focused on as it relates to marriage, what prompted you to focus on communication?
Well, there's a story here. If I can go back, I was in a program learning to become a marriage counselor. And part of that is there were some internships. And so I was at the court services, actually in Minneapolis, and assigned to get essentially a practicum there. And among other things, they had me, let me back it up and say, kids, if a girl was 15, she needed to have her parents' permission to get married. And the court would make that judgment. So what they had me doing was interviewing these kids and trying to assess should they be married, should the court give permission or not. Now, the really crazy thing about it is all the kids had to do is get in a car and drive to South Dakota and get married, where you could be 15. So I'm sitting there, and I think at the time I was age 26. So I'm in my mind, a kid talking to these kids about should you get married or not. And anyway, it seemed just, we're evaluating. And one day, the absurdity of it all kind of in my head clicked. What we ought to be doing is equipping these kids for marriage, not just, evaluating. And that was a really critical point, because after that, I went back to work on a PhD at the University of Minnesota. It was called the Family Center at the time, and started, okay, how can we help people transfer from being single into being a partner, a marriage relationship? And so, it just kind of came down to what does everybody do and need to do better? Typically, it's communication. So we started figuring that out, and what we really focused on were developed what I call MAPs, or conceptual frameworks, but a kind of a map of communication and skills, and then kind of what we call processes, or how to kind of sequence that a little bit to pull everything together for good outcomes, and particularly collaborative outcomes.
Yeah, what I love about the course is the fact that you're combining behavior with attitude.
Mm-hmm.
The sense that many of us care, but oftentimes there's misunderstanding because we're not skilled.
Mm.
And what I've seen through the course is that as people learn these skills and begin to implement them, then it improves their relationship. So there's a lot that people learn in this course. Say a little bit more about the MAPs, because you mentioned the MAPs, or the sense of the reason self-awareness is important as a part of, I think now they call it emotional intelligence. So say a little bit about self-awareness.
Once you're conscious, you become aware, and it's what you do with that consciousness. And so in the brain were very powerful forces that when we are triggered by something that seems to be threatening us potentially or something, we almost without knowing it react. We tighten up, we begin to become defensive, particularly when the threat really has some import. And so being aware of what's going on in my body and learning how to rebalance myself so I'm not anxious, and then can really access my thinking. So when I talk about frameworks or MAPs that we teach, they're kind of to help us be able to see where I am, where I want to go, and then so they, like any map, it kind of tells you where you are and where the choices you've got. So we try and in people's heads, give them pictures of where I am and what's going on. And then with that, being conscious though and aware of where I am, how can I change what I need to do to get where I want to go? And that's where the skill business comes in, and other MAPs as well. We have, just briefly, several MAPs we teach. One is what we call styles of communication. So whether I'm talking small talk or shop talk, that we call a style. And that's everyday kind of communication. Then another one is easy to get into is what we call control talk, which is telling you where to start and stop and what to do. And, we need control talk to live because it's a way of taking charge, making things happen. But if things don't happen as we are directing, is what people slip into is what we call fight talk, where we start to push and shove on each other and try and change the other person, and they counter, and so that gets stuck in that. And another big one, of course, is if I don't think I can fight with you directly, is I kind of go under the table in spite talk, and kind of go below the belt and kind of sometimes called passive aggressive behavior. So that whole cluster of control, fight, and spite is a lot of what's going on in our culture today, between our lifestyles and political persuasions and so forth. So we get stuck in this really negative kind of communication. Couples can get stuck in that with each other. It's very degrading and depreciating. Another style is what we call search talk, and that's where literally you lean back and, well, what do you think about this? Or how about if we tried that? Or how does this happen? And so you kind of speculate and kind of look around, if you will, and look for possibility. And then the other style we really encourage is what we call aware talk. And this is where I really tune in particularly into, to start with, my own awareness. So what it is I'm thinking, what's going on inside of me? What's going on inside of me emotionally? What's my data? What do I basis from what I'm thinking, or what might be setting up and causing my feelings? And then we also really pay attention to my own behavior. What have I done about this in the past? What am I contributing to this decision or this conflict? And in many ways, I think the really big piece is around what am I wanting? And now what I've talked about is all about me. So the other thing we teach in the course is a set of listening skills that help me tune into my partner or to you and your interests and what's important to you. So in teaching self-awareness and then skills for other awareness, on the basis of what we are each experiencing, out of that we try and generate new ways of thinking or solutions or other outcomes that really grow out of our experience and our awareness.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that as you were speaking, that the person, in terms of self-awareness, they're learning to use I statements. And one of the things that really has been significant for those who have taken the class, even when they've taken it and it's not been with a spouse, say like some of your other courses that you offer, core communication or working together, collaborative communication skills, what I've noticed is that the individual becomes self-aware and owns his or her style of communication. And I think in what we have going on right now in our world, everybody wants the other person to change.
Right.
So no sense of Michael Jackson, man in the mirror sort of look. Everybody wants to be right. So humility has really left the conversation. And taking this course, there's a amount of humbleness that one has to have when it comes to communicating.
Yeah, willingness to look at self and what I'm contributing, how I'm responding. is really important, and also the whole skill of speaking for self rather than speaking for the other. When I start to say, you think this or you feel that, and speak for you, I create resistance in you. And so it's a way of shifting to a style that owns your own experience, but is able to tune in to somebody else's, and out of that generate possibilities and solutions, rather than, it's easy to slip into it's my way or the highway. And the more desperate I am or I become, the more that I push and shove as opposed to be able to rebalance and hear and also generate my own thinking.
And this is what you've developed. This is an 8-hour course. And thinking about what you said earlier, how you came to create this to make sure that couples were intentional about planning and being prepared for marriage, as opposed to being evaluated to determine if they should be married. In this day where people want things so quick, would be the benefit of investing that much time into their development of their relationship?
Well, if you think about how much time people spend in school, even to get through high school, and then going to trade school to learning to do something specifically, or say through a college education or something. We put a lot of our energy into education in many areas. You look at a business, they have a whole training department usually in companies to teach people current ideas and moving ahead and development, and to be more aligned and effective in the work we do as teams and as an organization. So we do education everywhere except marriage. And the research shows that the marriage we bring to any relationship is the relationship we saw, or the lack of relationship we saw growing up. So what's in between it's a big investment going into a marriage. I was making a presentation once, giving a keynote speech somewhere, and there was a little cocktail party or something before it, and it happened to be standing next to an attorney who I've never seen before nor since, really. And as I said to him, by the way, what does a divorce cost? And he just said 30%. And I said, whoa, you mean, what do you mean 30%? He said, well, whatever your financial state is as a couple right now, you lose 30. It costs you 30 more percent to live, alone than with somebody, etc. Just kind of run that out on your own. But so joining with another person, and hopefully for life, is a big decision. And, people hold off, put it off. There are a lot of ways to be together in today's world, which people fortunately can do. But at some point, how can we really get the most from our being together? And I kind of like to think of it just as this is really, for me, a healthy relationship. You can see it's two people, they come together. By the way, I got the shakes a little bit, so you have to put up with that. But we come together and we have fun, we enjoy each other, have conversation. Sometimes we fight, sometimes we argue, but we come together, we make love, that's togetherness. And then there's a time where we all go, let me back up, we all go apart. Mm-hmm. You have your day, I have my day. and so forth. We come together and we go apart, and there's this kind of rhythm to it. And then there's the time when you lead and I follow, okay? So you got ideas, I think let's do that. And so then there's the time when I lead and you follow. And so we've got this dance that people have. And, it's a healthy relationship has all four of those in my mind and experience modes of relating in different ways. Now, what happens when a relationship's in trouble, a lot of times they get stuck when they're together, they just fight. Or they're afraid to go apart because I'll lose you. Or I follow you all my life, but whenever I lead, you never come over here. And so we have one mode that doesn't really, isn't part of our dance. So that's really what we're working on, is, I guess, teaching people how to dance and talk about it.
I love that. I love that analogy. Now, you have recently, during the pandemic, you were writing, and you recently, I think, published a book. And say a little bit about that.
Well, for years, one of the things we teach in the couples program, it's really a big piece, is what we call the awareness wheel, which is really the 5 parts that I just mentioned: our sensory data, thoughts, emotions, wants, and actions. And I should come back and talk about wants too briefly. But anyway, so with a colleague, Dr. Daniel Lord, we joined together, and he's really very informed neuroscientist. And so we've written 2 workbooks called The Awareness Wheel, and there's a subtitle, a tool for inner action, INNERACTION. So being able to go inside and understand yourself better. So anyway, we've written these 2 books, and they're available at awarenesswheel.com. Just go there, and there's a number of resources there. The other I sure want to mention is, if you're at all interested in the couples program, they go to couplecommunication.com. And so those are related materials at those two websites. Let me, though, go back to wants for a minute. I've kind of come to believe that wants are the secret sauce. They're so powerful. Everybody wants something. And I will sometimes in teaching ask people, how many of you are concerned about what others think of you? And, hands go up, and so forth. And I say, well, I have some bad news. What's the news? Well, most of the time, no one's thinking about you. And, they usually laugh, as you did. And then I'll ask who are they thinking about? And everybody, myself, So the ability to leave yourself and tune into others is a gift. And it's so important particularly in decisions and particularly complicated and often conflicted decisions. So when we go to wants, it's natural to think about myself. And that's important, by the way, being able to tune in. What is my really want in this situation? One of the things I've noticed about wants is if I'm afraid to say what they are, it becomes a hidden agenda. Very powerful force that I'm trying to get it, but I don't want you to know. So what happens, I tend to slide into manipulation or kind of strange behavior. I don't understand. What's this going on here. I don't know what the person's intention is, what they really desire or wish. And so my behavior becomes kind of screwy when I'm trying to keep you out of the loop. So the other thing about wants is when I put it out there, I don't get everything I want, but at least you know what it is, I know what it is, and we negotiate. And the really important thing about wants is not just about me, but also about you. So tuning into what are your interests, and what of those interests can I help you get? And once I start to tune in and try and encourage your interests being counted and included, we work out something that we can generate together. And so wants are so powerful. It's where the secret sauce is in many ways.
Well, I notice sometimes I'm talking to couples about the course, and when they're speaking about like conflict resolution or making the decisions or solving problems, they'll say stuff like, well, we compromise. And what I enjoy and appreciate about this course is that you speak about collaboration, because compromise is pretty much the highest form of conflict resolution and problem solving and decision making that most people know.
Mm-hmm. So
say a little bit about the difference between compromise and collaboration.
Thanks for bringing that up. I've come to believe that compromise is a setup for failure. A compromise is a trade. I'll do this if you do that. I'll get this, and you can have that. And what's interesting is driving home, symbolically, am I thinking about what I got or what I gave up? Most people, well, I'm not real happy about it, but yeah, I gave this up, but I did get that. And so there's a low-level satisfaction, typically, with compromises. This is true in government. The highest, very often, they can get is to compromise, which is a trade, okay? The other thing about that is, as soon as I see you, if we agree, okay, you'll do that and I'll do this, who am I watching? Am I watching you, or am I paying attention to my part? Most of the time, people are watching, and as soon as the other person doesn't do what they said they do, that then is license to me to not do what I do. So it's conditional. So it has a lot of dimensions around it that really are set up not to work. So the collaboration in contrast is being able to, as we talked about wants, tuning into each other's interests, get those on the table and see how, okay, I understand what you want, here's what I want. What can we invent that would make that possible? So it takes us into creating something. And so after a real good collaboration, when you experience it with your partner or at the workplace or somewhere else, there's kind of a joy around it, a euphoria that, boy, we came up with something that neither you nor I on our own would have thought about. And so it becomes a creative process as opposed to a trade.
Yeah. Transformative rather than transactional.
Oh, exactly.
The other thing I like about the course is the coaching piece that you integrated within the course. The fact that couples are taking it with other couples. And through coaching, I think, at least for me, it begins to create a different dynamic because couples learn how to use the skills with other people in their lives, whether that is with co-workers or whether using it with other family members, because they move away from advice giving, right? Move maybe away from the control talk.
That's right. Yeah.
Situational listening. So because they're coaching someone else. So how did that come to being? How did you think about that? Because it could have easily been a course that people just take and it just be focused on them, but you added that coaching piece. So I love.
This is
Yes.
a piece of cloth, really. And what we have on it, by the way, are the listening, and over here is listening, and this is the awareness wheel over here, essentially. This is what we call the desktop version or the laptop version. But we have these mats that are 30 inches square that have the same graphics on them. And each couple gets a set of the mats as part of the class, along with a book and so forth. So as a way of learning the tools, we have people stand on the mats and physically move around, which is, the word is kinesthetically, it's body-mind involvement. So it's very different than sitting in a chair and talking, even as we're talking now, is I move to the parts of the zone that I'm experiencing and talk about it. Helps my partner understand me, helps me understand myself. And then, of course, when we add the listening piece, so we have one person standing on the listening and the other one on the wheel, the talking, and then they rotate from time to time. But the coaching piece is, so we haven't, they work with another couple, and the other couples are observers, and then they occasionally would use their foot to tap on the wheel. So if somebody's standing on emotion, but saying what they think rather than what their emotion is, and like they say, hey, I feel like we ought to make a decision. Well, the word feel is not an emotion. It's a thought, that phrase. So the coach would tap them over. Oh yeah, that's my thinking. So what am I feeling when I think that? Well, I'm excited. I think it's a good opportunity. So I'm moving back and forth between my thoughts and my emotions. Although I'm a little scared, if we don't act soon, I think we could miss this opportunity. So anyway, while couples take an issue to make a decision, or sometimes talk about work through a conflict, the other couple is watching, learning about themselves and their own relationship as they watch the other couple. But what they're coaching is on the skill, what we call process coaching. They're not giving insights and, talking about giving advice and all. They're just really coaching on the skills and how the couple's using the skills to make something happen.
Yeah, I find that very helpful. There have been a couple of my family members who've taken the course, and it's been really interesting to see how we interact with the other people in our family who have not taken the course. In fact, my brother recently, who's not taking the course, said that he asked someone a question. He said, I was imitating what I heard you do.
Oh, okay. No, you're effective.
So let me ask this. I mean, I know that we're really focusing on wanting people to take this who are intending to get married, who are already married. And in some instances, like for myself, by the time I discovered your course, there have been so much, so many things that happened, and it was just, the relationship was irreparable. However, we are amicable in divorce. So there's not, I think that the course really helped me in that way. So just thinking about persons who are not able to sustain the relationship, especially individuals who may have children. How could this be beneficial to someone who
Very
is now
yes.
co-parenting relationship?
Well, over the years, there have been thousands and thousands of couples who've taken this class, and at all stages. You mentioned two of them, really, or they're just getting together or ending sometimes it's how can we count each other and still go on living and do it as effectively as we can, given our situation. And so these are just tools to help you live better.
Well, I don't want to give everything away because I want people to sign up for the class.
Well, it's in the practice where it counts. It's one thing talking about, it's another thing doing it.
That's true. That's true. Any parting words, anything you would like to share with the audience about not only this course, but the other courses that you teach and offer?
Thank you. I think just if you're interested in the couples program, go to the website, couplecommunication.com. Also, just for self-awareness, and if you're in therapy or you're working with a life coach, the awareness wheel is an invaluable tool for you to learn and use with your coach or counselor. And so it's available. There are 2 workbooks. The first one really describes the wheel and how to, what we call, map an issue, work through a complex, important concern you have. And the second one talks about the brain in layman's terms and how it impacts our behavior and reactivity, and then how to manage a reaction and how to prevent, really, by altering your body, mind. So we teach some specific processes, and then we have some chapters in there, like one, check your messages, and that's the chapter on self-talk. What am I telling myself? So the title is Check Your Messages. Then we have one on really difficult behavior patterns that I'm trying to change. We have people look at 3 wheels. One, what am I typically doing? What would I like to be doing? What's my desired? So typical, desired. And then there's the third one, what limits me? What do I keep doing that interferes, undermines? And the last chapter is really very exciting, I think, it's called Think Big. And what's my big dream? Dream big, I think it is. And it's using the wheel again as a framework for how can I move in the direction and really accomplish something in life that I want to do it.
Again, collaborative marriage
Boy, that
skill.
was...
I've got the book right here, and you point out 7 characteristics or 7 dimensions of a collaborative marriage. We'll just tell them to come to the class. They want to know about the stuff. We got to keep something to get people to come to the class.
Yeah.